Hello, lovely, and welcome to the Essence of Expression podcast. Get ready to explore insights, lessons, practices, and wisdom from life for life. I'm your host, Arejay, healer, teacher, student, and sage. I'm excited and honored to have you with me on this journey. Let's dive in. What if you unknew? So, as we transition, a lot of times we make things harder for ourselves, and part of what makes it difficult is that sometimes we're trying to approach new situations from the knowledge we already have, right? And while that sometimes serves us and is great, sometimes what's needed and will move us further along and let us start actually taking action as opposed to being in planning mode is to forget what we know, right? And ask ourselves, like, if no one told us, if we didn't have evidence of something, right, what would we do? Like, how would we approach what's in front of us right now? And we are capable of so much more than we tend to think we are. And we are capable of so much more than the old stories will have us believe and adhere to. So what if you just unknew your limits, right? If you just suspended that reality for a moment and dreamed of a possible alternative? What does that look like? What are you doing? How are you moving? How do you do it? What would you start? Think of it that way. And I say this because a lot of times we have expansive knowledge of stuff, right? And we get to a point where we know it. Like, and I'm talking like logically know it. So we don't necessarily go back and look at it from a different perspective. We don't play with it as easily as someone who's completely new to it might play with it. So if we're trying to be creative or we're trying to be innovative, taking that perspective can help us. And also, when we find ourselves becoming things or wanting to do things that previously we thought were unavailable to us, pausing to ask yourself, like, what if it's not unavailable to me? Like, what if no one ever told me that? What if I was never shown any evidence of that? What would I do? Like, how would I get it? How would I do it? And move from there. And when you can learn to do that, first, you're going to amaze yourself with some of the stuff that you can do, because you're like, oh, crap. Like, I remember when I thought I couldn't do this at all, and like, now I'm rocking it, right? And you're also going to start to carry that over into other things in life. So there are a lot of tools and techniques and so many things that we work with all the time, and we're usually brought to them in a particular way. We're usually told how to work with them or shown how to work with them in a particular way or for a particular purpose. And we learn it that way. And that's fine. That's great. Like, learn. I'm all for learning, and that's part of it. And sometimes we need to go back and explore and experiment and play and, like, what if? Because a lot of answers are there, a lot of solutions are there, and we may not be recognizing them because we're too busy looking at them from the same perspective that we've always known them, right? We're too busy going, oh, this thing is for this purpose, so this is not my purpose, so I'm not even going to like look over here at this thing, right? So I'll give you a couple of examples to help you understand what I'm talking about. So when it comes to like tangible physical solutions, right? Product solutions, things like that. I used to go to a lot of conferences, and they'd be like multi-day conferences. So you're meeting a ton of people, lots of business cards being handed out, right? And the card cases, like if you didn't have, well, for me, I have a lot of stuff, didn't have a lot of stuff in my bag. So if I didn't have like a card case, half the cards are going to be lost just to like other things in my bag and get bent and whatever. But the card cases that I did find for business cards were all these little thin things that held like 10 business cards. And I'm like, what am I going to do with 10 business cards at this massive event for like 5 days? With thousands and thousands of people. Like, what is happening here? And so I was like, I need something, right? And what I ended up using, and to this day, like if I still have to have actual physical cards to pass out at large conferences like that, I have cigarette cases. I don't smoke. I have them only to hold my business cards. Why? Because you can hold a chunk of them at a time. And they fit really nicely in like a purse or whatever, or pocket. So that's what I use. But if I was only willing to think of, based on the use case of something, based on its prescribed use case, right? It is a cigarette case. It is for holding cigarettes. It says it right in the name, right? Like cigarette case. I would have not even looked over there because I have nothing to do with cigarettes. Like that's not in my purview. So sometimes just being willing to say, okay, like what is it that I actually need, right? And it's just, I need something hard that is this particular size. So what else might be this size that is also hard? And that's how I found the cigarette cases, right? And then as an example of what we get to do or achieve or experience, if no one told you, and if you hadn't gotten messages that indicate a particular belief or limitation, and that limitation therefore does not exist because it's not a thing, like you've never had that information, how would you do the thing? So for me, this was drawing. For the longest time, I thought I had zero artistic ability. I was very sad and bitter about it when I was little because I have, like, both sides of my family have quite a few creatives in them. And I was like, I felt like the only one who didn't have that. And I was like, well, how did I not get passed out something, right? And when I was younger, like, the story was absolutely, like, I couldn't draw at all. Bad drawer. I, would draw the picture, be super proud, and then someone would say like, oh, that's a cute this, and like it'd be like, oh, that's a cute hamster, and I, in my mind, had drawn a bear, not a hamster. So not only so even when people weren't saying, oh, this is bad, right? They were still trying to be encouraging. If what I'm trying to represent is not at all what you think I'm representing, then I'm not doing a good job at it, right? So, and there were people who were just like, that drawing is crap, later when you're not like 5 and just trying and cute. And so I didn't learn to draw until, I don't know, I want to say it was probably 22, somewhere in there. I don't know. But I had discovered henna. I had gotten some done and I thought it was super gorgeous and I wanted to learn how to do it. And I was like, I can't draw for crap though. How am I going to do this? Like, what is happening? But I really wanted to learn because it was so beautiful. And I was like, I really want to just be able to do that. So there was a henna camp. I signed up because I really wanted to learn how to do henna. And I was like, I still don't have a fucking clue how to draw. So I started to teach myself, and part of it was suspending that story and that belief that said I draw badly or I can't draw, and just learning to recreate shapes, right? And recreate what I saw. So if I didn't have this story going, hey, you can't draw that, you can't draw that. If I looked at something and wanted to draw that, where would I start? What's the thing that stands out to me that needs to be put down first, right? And just try that. And at first it was a little rocky start, but eventually, like, I started to get the hang of things. I started to be able to, do the shapes, do the animals and things like that. And now, am I like a super prolific artist with my drawings? No, and that's not what I was going for. I wasn't practicing that hard to be. I just wanted to be able to draw well enough that it looked good, and if I did it with henna and put it on someone's skin, it would be cute and people would be excited to have it done. Right? Did I achieve that? Absolutely. So now I can draw like really cute stuff, really cute things, little creatures and penguins and sharks and all the things, and do a fairly good job of having people know exactly what the creature is. But it didn't start that way. And it never would have happened if I held on to the I can't draw story, right? Because I would have not tried for it. I would have, every time I tried, like, had this mudslide of thoughts coming at me that are just like, you're bad, you can't do this, right? And instead, I just chose to go, what if that wasn't the case? What if maybe I can draw fine? Maybe. Let's see what happens. So that willingness to kind of suspend those things and to unknow what you think you know. And I want to be clear, like when I say unknow and the knowing that I'm talking about right now, I'm talking about like the mental, intellectual, logical knowing. I'm not talking about like full body, deep down in my soul, bone knowing. That's different. That's a different type of intelligence. And it's not something that is, it's less perspective based, right? It's more universal truth or what register at that level generally. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about I'm thinking it through and I know it because I was taught it or because I've witnessed it and seen it play out this way enough to quote unquote know. So what would happen if you just are willing to unknow? Right? Just unknow. How do you now move? How do you now start? Right? How do you now be? If you just unknow those limiting stories. If you just unknow that limiting behavior. What would come up for you? What could you create? Thank you for your time and attention. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show. If someone came to mind while you were listening to this episode, please take a moment to share it with them. If you're interested in joining a community and diving further into these topics, please visit theessenceofexpression.com/community and request to join our community group. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night or day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.